Hello and welcome to Bad Romance, the series on my channel wherein using a bit of my critical thinking skills, I pick out and notice the more subtle and potentially damaging aspects of romance novels in the depiction of the romantic relationships that are marketed towards women. And it is something that is especially fun for me, not only because I love the romance genre, but because I have been reading romance books targeted towards middle-aged women since I was in middle school, which I very much should not have been doing, but here we are. And today I'm talking about On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. I'm going to set up the story for you really quick, so it's not going to be a summary, low-key spoiler warning, but I'm going to set it up for you, and then I'm going to get into why I believe it is a bad romance. Let's get it. So the story, here's what happened. Joss, the main character, her mom, dad, and baby sister die in a car crash when she is 14 years old. Obviously, she has a lot of trauma from that, and she doesn't trust people or want to get close to them very much. When she turned 18 after growing up in the foster care system, or going 4 years in the foster care system, she gets a big inheritance from her family and moves to Scotland, which is where her mom is from, and goes there for university. And then after university, she's looking for a place to live and ends up finding an apartment on Dublin Street where she meets Ellie, her new roommate. But on the way there, she she shared a taxi with a very attractive man who happens to be Ellie's older brother, Braden. In that first interaction, he's very flirty and makes it very clear that he is attracted to her, but I will be getting into why I have a problem with that later. So skipping a whole bunch of stuff, obviously with Joss being roommates with Ellie, she gets to know Braden and just Ellie's entire family a bit more. To make a long story short, after a lot of push and pull between Braden and Joss, they end up getting into a friends with benefits arrangement and then eventually dating. The classic Act 3 breakup happens, but not in the way you would think. Ellie ends up having a brain tumor, and as a trauma response, Joss breaks up with Braden because she's like, I can't do this, I can't have a man and have a new friend who's one of my closest friends who is also your brother who's maybe gonna die of cancer. She can't do it, so she breaks up with him. And then after the regular conflict and all that, Joss and Braden end up getting together and they have a happy ending, or at least I think, because there's like a novella for like their honeymoon or something, and I think Joss gets pregnant, but she has another, she's triggered again and almost divorces him or something, from what I can remember. I don't know. That is the story, or just a little bit of the setup on Dublin Street. So why am I making it a bad romance? What about it makes it a bad romance? My main issue is the insinuation that you have to share different aspects of your past or just your history with somebody, a friend, in a relationship, whatever, in order to develop deeper and more trusting relationships. There's a part in the book where Ellie says something along the lines of with Joss not trusting anyone, it makes it really hard for people to care about her. And it's oh my gosh, that is something that is so rude and kind of cruel for you to say, and just wrong in my opinion. And then later, I don't know if I don't remember Joss and Braden are already dating, or if they're still in their hookup phase. With how the scene goes, instead of it being more natural conversation, it seems more just an exchange of information. Braden ends up telling Joss something traumatic from his past, and it's pretty horrific of a story, but instead of it just seeming like something he felt like he wanted to say, it seems like he brings it up and he talks about it in the hopes that Joss will say something about herself. And in my personal opinion, that is a tad manipulative. When it comes to relationships and just people talking about themselves, everybody is different. And everybody grows into relationships different, and everyone expresses their care differently. So like I said, the insinuation that in order for you to have the best and deepest connections with someone, you have to have told them about your trauma or something from your past, or like your deepest darkest secret, I just do not think that is true. I think as long as you're honest and authentic, especially in a more intimate relationship, you're good. But besides that, it's like, no, like, what are we talking about? But that is not the only reason why it's a bad romance. I'm gonna list a few things off. Like I said, Brayden and Joss first meet in a taxi, and like I said, Brayden makes it very clear that he's attracted to her. He's like looking her up and down, all this stuff. But he has a girlfriend. Huge red flag. Huge red flag. If a man has a girlfriend, but he's being all flirty with you and in your face, no. He's Ellie's older brother, and who's Joss's roommate, and he owns the apartment. I think he might own the building. I don't remember. But he at least owns the apartment that they're staying at. And like one of the first few days that Joss moves in there, she's in the bathroom and like enjoying her new tub, and she forgot a towel, which happens to the best of us, right? She goes out thinking she's alone, and Brayden is there. And he's like looking at her. He sees her naked. His eyes are like roaming everywhere. And she's like, what the heck are you doing here? Like, who are you? Da da. Like, yeah, at that point, she doesn't even know that the guy in the taxi is Ellie's brother, and that he had a key and he didn't knock and he could just come in whenever he wanted, and then walked in on her naked. Like, that is a huge problem. From then on, Joss is always talking about how Brayden is looking at her lustfully and like he's seen her naked, which he has. And it drives me pretty crazy whenever I read it, because it's like, there's a power imbalance now. Like, he knows more about her. Yeah, not only that, he like is older than her, all this stuff, and he's freaking seeing her naked, and he can just like lust after her and like knows what she looks like and all this stuff. And it just drives me crazy. And then without anything really having happened between them yet, Joss makes it very clear multiple times to Brayden that she wants nothing to do with him. She doesn't want to hook up with him. She's like, you're my roommate's brother. Let's just be cool, right? But there is like an attraction between them. Like, they're both attracted to each other. But Joss, with her mouth, with her words, is like, I don't want anything to do with you in that way. Even if she is crazily attracted to him, that is what she's saying, and he should listen to her, but he does not. And even to the point where, again, they had not done anything physically, they hadn't had a conversation about it, nothing like that, and he's incredibly possessive of her. He's saying things like, you're mine, I don't like when people touch what's mine, blah blah, all this stuff. And it's like, sure, if you're in a relationship and you like that stuff, which it's suggested that Joss does, that's okay. But when he's making this claim and he has no actual claim, once again, that is a problem. That is a big issue that I don't like. Even if Joss does like domineering men and she does like a man being bossy to her and all that stuff, in reality, it is incredibly dangerous and inappropriate for a man to make presumptions about the way a woman does or does not feel in regards to her attraction to him. And obviously, in the case of this book, it worked out, but it is kind of just harmful to have this female character who is continually telling the love interest, yes, but telling him that she doesn't want to do anything with him. And even though she wants to, what she's saying, he needs to listen to, and he doesn't. And then after they break up, they end up having this conversation, and Brayden says some like hurtful stuff. Like, he calls her a few names and just says really hurtful stuff, and Joss starts crying in front of him because he freaking hurt her. And he goes, I knew it. I knew you cared about me, da da da, blah blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, he admits to trying and successfully hurting her, like trying to hit her where it hurts to prove that she really does love him and care for him. That is literally insane. No man should ever, in order to prove your feelings, even to yourself or to him, I don't know, a person should never try to hurt you in order to get an emotional reaction to prove a point. That is psychopath behavior. That is crazy, bro. And, you know, you gotta talk about the spice, gotta talk about it. This is a romance novel we are talking about, and it is one of the largest aspects of the story when it comes to nearly any romance novel that has spice included. Now, I won't lie, the first like 2 spicy scenes aren't bad. They're not bad. I'm not gonna front. There is a like somewhat concerning trend that I noticed as I was reading, is that nearly every time, if not nearly every time, before they end up hooking up, they get into an argument. And it's not like, oh, banter, fun back and forth. No, like they're arguing about something and then they end up doing it to resolve it. And it's just like, not saying that like if you do that in your relationship, like you're doomed, but it's just like, if nearly every time you hook up, it's right after an argument, you gotta work on some things, you know? And then, like I spoke about earlier, how they had essentially an exchange of information. So Brayden tells something about his past, so Joss will tell something about hers. They're both, bring up very like intimate, personal, painful memories. And after that, they end up doing it. And I'm just like, y'all couldn't have just held each other, you know, comforted each other after that. You had to do it, but it's okay. It's none of my business. In conclusion, the first time I read On Dublin Street was in 7th grade. I know I should not have. I know I shouldn't, okay? I'm more aware of that fact. But I'm 25 now, and it's honestly funny because there were parts I remember not liking when I first read it, and I can say it's the same today. After the first spicy scene, before, I would literally just stop reading because the tension between Brayden and Joss really dies after they get together. There's still some things that they're working on and like pushing through, but it isn't as much fun as it was in the beginning. Despite Brayden being the love interest, when he's not actively chasing Joss, he's really kind of bland. Like there's not really a whole lot going on with him if Joss isn't involved, or if he isn't like teasing her or trying to like get something out of her. There's just really no substance to him outside of Joss. He's pretty much just like the vehicle for Joss to start to like open up and like become more trusting and like get closer to people. And it's simply because of like his outright refusal to leave her alone. And that's just the thing that ends up cracking Joss's shell, and she wants to, you know, change herself and acknowledge her traumas and like, you know, work through her past and all these things because of Brayden. Brayden pushed her to do so. I gave On Dublin Street 2 stars. I can't lie, it was a fun reread, but I am excited to find more bad romances to read and also reread some that I am rereading right now, and I am honestly having a good time. Have you read On Dublin Street? What did you think? What did you rate it? I have the audiobook from like when I first had it from before, and the narrator does like a Scottish accent, and obviously I'm American, and I don't know a whole lot about Scottish accents or Scottish culture in general, but to me, The accent was good. I'm not about to be sitting here saying that it's the best Scottish accent because who am I to talk? But I liked it. At least I think she did a good job. So yeah, I would recommend the audiobook if you want to read this book because you can hear the Scottish accents, but I don't know if they like live up to actual Scottish accents. I'll let you be the decider of that. But thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me and hear how good of a singer I am, you can check out my music channel and original music all under the name of Shy Fighter. Like if you want to like, subscribe if you want to subscribe. I don't know, do whatever you would like to do, and I will see you when I see you. Farewell.